Congratulations! Your consult with Lua Media Group is officially booked with yours truly, Allison Kirschbaum, and I can't wait to speak to you. So in order to prep both of us properly for this call, I'm going to go through 3 points on this little video. First, a tip, then a request, then a promise. So let's start with the tip. So in your business, you have a niche that you are the best at, whatever it is. It could be that you take B and C class self-storage properties in secondary and tertiary markets and raise their income by 30 to 40% using operating upside only, not CapEx upside. Or you could be like some of our other clients, and you could be the expert in shovel-ready residential plots in San Francisco, or even certain markets of San Francisco. The more niche, the better. The smaller the market, the better. Because the more niche you can be in any business that advertises online, anywhere in the world, I don't care what kind of business it is, I don't care what you're advertising for, the more niche you can be in this world, the better your business is going to go. And I'll tell you why that is. So back in the day, when all businesses were basically competing using the same methods, when you could only use TV or radio or flyers or the people that happened to walk past your store on the street corner, people had to be as broad as possible in some ways. If you were the only general store in Podunkville, West Mississippi, somewhere on the western frontier, I'm from Colorado, there's a lot of states that are considered frontier. If you were the general store in that little town, you were the store. You had to have everything. But as your town grew, you didn't need to have quite as many things on hand because competition would spring up. There would be some guy down the street who starts selling flour and sugar and baking supplies and dry goods, and you're like, well, I guess I don't really need to sell that anymore. And then there's a guy down the street on the other side who starts selling fabric and nails and hardware and all kinds of things, and now he's kind of like another general merchant, and you don't need to sell those items anymore. So gradually, the need for all of the items in your business becomes less and less and less. And as your market grows, that only becomes more true. So in a massive city like New York or Tokyo or Los Angeles, you have so many millions and millions of merchants, but you also have millions and millions of people. And all those millions and millions of people don't want 15,000 general stores. They want a store that's the best in the world at one specific thing, because there's so many other businesses there competing with you to be the best at anything. Am I making sense so far? So the internet is like a massive city, a massive, massive city with billions of people in it. And if you can target the right people, the people who really need and want your product, and they're out there, if you have built it for the right target market and you're targeting your ads to the right people, you will have a great business online. Because those people that want your product, again, if it's built correctly for the right target market, and if it has value for that target market, are out there somewhere. There are literally billions of people on the internet. Whatever it is you sell, there is definitely a market for it. I've seen some really weird businesses that succeed amazingly well on the internet because there's billions of people out there buying from them. Even if it's a little bit at a time, somebody buys from them. So when you create a brand, even if it's just for an investment fund, which most people don't think is actually a brand, it totally is. You need to be a brand more than anybody else. You need to be a brand more than any other business you know, because you need more capital from investors than anybody else you know. Think about when you purchase an app from somewhere, or a sandwich, or a piece of electronics, or a piece of clothing. You probably do it because of the brand. You know that it's reliable, or it's safe, or it tastes good, or it looks good, or it's not going to spread viruses on your device, or whatever it is. You do it because of the brand. Now, if it's so important to have a brand for a $5 sandwich, think about all those times you're driving down the road and you're like, you know, I really want a sandwich. There's 3 or 4 sandwich shops over here, but none of them are my favorite. I want one specific brand of sandwich. So I'm gonna go 3 or 4 miles down the road and I'm gonna get my sandwich there. Think about all the times that happens to you. And that's for a $3 or $4 or $5 sandwich. Imagine how much more important a brand is when you're talking about $25, $50, $100, $500,000 from an investor. You need a brand way more than you ever thought possible. And I have a tool to do that for you. So up here on the left of your screen, a sentence is going to come up. And I need you to take a screenshot or write it down or both, do whatever you got to do because you need this sentence. This sentence cost me over $100,000 in branding coaching over many years to get this sentence right. And this sentence can define the entire soul of your brand, your entire value to your customer. That's why it's called a value selling proposition. Better than any elevator pitch, better than any 90, 60, 30, 10-second pitch. We can do this in 5 seconds, and it's going to completely define your entire brand. So write this phrase down. I help blank to do blank so that they can blank even if they blank. Think about that again. Write it down. I help blank to do blank so that they can blank even if they blank. Why is this so important? Now, you probably understand the first part of the sentence, the description of your brand. Everybody has that. What I want you to pay attention to is the even if at the end. So anytime somebody decides to or thinks about making a purchase from a specific company, they have a little objection in the back of their head. They have a little, well, but this may not work for me because of this or that, XYZ, whatever it is, some reason. If you are teaching people how to buy their first piece of investment real estate, for example, I've been in that boat. Usually the objection runs something like, but I don't have any money, but I don't have good credit, but I don't have any experience. So my even if on my branding statement would be, I can teach you how to buy your first piece of investment real estate, even if you have no money, no experience, bad credit. If I was in that situation, those are the even ifs that I would use. Now in your case, your even if could be something like, even if you have never invested in a fund before, or even if you have never invested in Sacramento before, or even if you pick. You know your industry a lot better than I do at this point, and that's the whole point of this branding statement, is to help you, me, and all your customers and soon-to-be investors to figure out exactly what your brand is about. So fill in this sentence for me before the call. Very, very important. Item number 2, a request. I'm sure I don't need to ask this of most of you. There are a few out there that I need to ask this for. So obviously, your time is money. My time is money. The time that we're spending on this call could be spent making a lot of money elsewhere. And the fact that we're spending both our time and therefore our money to be on this call means that we both need to be incredibly prepared. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to bring all my expertise and all my wisdom to bear on your business for the time that we're together. And that's why I'm asking you to do this value statement and to show up on time and to be fully prepared in a room without distractions. Because if we're spending time together in a room with distractions, it's just not going to work. So I thank you in advance, and I'm requesting that you pay as much consideration to this call as I paid in preparing for it. All those years and years of studying and all those years that you can't see that I prepared to be ready to do this call with you to make the best branding statement for your company we could possibly create. And then number 3, a promise. So in every one of these calls, we get a certain amount of value for the customer, or a certain amount of value. In every one of these calls, we get a certain amount of value, a certain amount of actionable tips for the client on the other side. And everybody talks at a different speed, everybody learns at a different speed, and some people get as few as 2 actionable items. As few as 2 actionable items that you can take home and use to improve your business. Whether or not we ever talk again, I'm going to give you at least 2 incredibly valuable pieces of advice that you probably had no idea you even needed to know, and that you can completely action on your own without help from me, or in some cases, even anybody else. And if we're really clipping along, and in some cases, I've even given up to 7 highly actionable, can do today pieces of advice in one call. That's an entire marketing plan, y'all. Like, you won't need me after that, but we can still work together if you choose. So, thank you for sticking around for this entire video, and I hope you enjoyed my $108,000 value statement for your business. Prepare that. Can't wait to see you on the call. Until then, wishing you health, wealth, and investors.